ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. This is the second video explaining self-enquiry of Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. So I start with a question by devotee. Is the aforesaid self-experience possible even in the state of empirical existence for the mind, which has to perform functions in accordance with its prarabdha, the past karma which has begun to fructify? Maharshi, a Brahmin may play various parts in a drama, yet the thought that he is a Brahmin does not leave his mind. Similarly, when one is engaged in various empirical acts, there should be firm conviction, I am the self, without allowing the mind idea, I am the body, etc., to rise. If the mind should stay away from its state, then immediately one should inquire, oh, we are not the body, etc. Who are we? And thus when one should reinstate the mind in that pure state, the enquiry, who am I, is the principal means to the removal of all misery and the attainment of the supreme bliss. When in this manner the mind becomes quiescent in its own state, self-experience arises of its own accord without any hindrance. Therefore, sensory pleasure and gains will not affect the mind. All phenomena will appear then without attachment like a dream. Never forgetting one's plenary self-experience is real bhakti, devotion, yoga, mind control, jnana, knowledge, and all other austerities. Thus say the sages. Disciple, when there is activity in regard to works, we are neither the agents of those works nor their enjoyers. The activities of the three instruments, the mind, speech, and body. Could we remain unattached thinking thus? Maharshi replies, after the mind has been made to stay in the self, which is its deity, and has been rendered indifferent to empirical matters because it does not stay away from the self, how can the mind think as mentioned above? Do not such thoughts constitute bondage? When such thoughts arise due to residual impressions, vasanas, one should restrain the mind from flowing that way, endeavor to retain it in the self state and make it turn indifferent to empirical matter. One should not give room in the mind for such thoughts as is this good or is that good? Can this be done or can that be done? One should be vigilant even before such thoughts arise and make the mind stay in its native state. If any little room is given, such a disturbed mind will do harm to us while posing as our friend. Like the foe appearing to be a friend, it will topple us down. Is it not because one forgets one's self that such thoughts arise and cause more and more evil? While it is true that to think about discrimination, I do not do anything, all actions are performed by the instruments, is a means to prevent the mind from flowing along thought vasanas, does it not also follow that only if the mind flows along the along thought vasanas that it must be restrained through discrimination as stated before? Can the mind that remains in the self state think as I and as I behave empirically thus and thus? In all manner of ways possible one should endeavor gradually not to forget one's true self, that is God. If that accomplished, all will be accomplished. The mind should not be directed to any other matter. Even though one may perform like a mad person the actions that are the result of prarabdha karma, one should retain the mind in the self without letting the thought I do arise. Have not countless bhaktas, the devotees, performed their numerous empirical functions with an attitude of indifference? Devotee, what is the real purpose of sannyasa, renunciation? Maharshi, sannyasa is only the renunciation of the I thought and not the rejection of the external objects. He who has renounced the I thought thus remains the same whether he is alone or in the midst of the extensive samsara, empirical world. Just as when the mind is concentrated on some object, it does not observe other things even though they may be proximate. So also, although the sage may perform any number of empirical acts, in reality he performs nothing because he makes the mind rest in the self without letting the I thought arise. Even as in a dream one appears to fall head downwards, while in reality one is unmoving, so also the ignorant person, that is the person for whom the I thought has not ceased, although he remains alone in constant meditation, is in fact one who performs all empirical actions. Thus the wise ones have said, devotee, the mind, sense organs, etc. have the ability to perceive, yet why are they regarded as perceived objects? Maharshi, drik, knower, drishya, known. 1. The seer, drishya, pot, the seen object. Further. 2. The eye organ, that is knower, and body, pot, etc. drishya. Third, the sense of sight, that is the knower, and known object is the eye organ. Fourth, the mind, that is the knower, and the sense of sight, that is the known object. Fifth, the individual soul, knower, and mind is the known object. Sixth, consciousness, the self, that is the knower, and the individual soul, that is the known object. As shown in the above scheme, since we, the consciousness, know all objects, we are said to be drik, knower. The categories ending with the pot are the objects seen, since they are what are known. In the table of knowledge, ignorance, that is knower known, given above, among the knowers and objects of knowledge, it is seen that one is knower in the relation to another, yet since that one is object in relation to another, none of these categories is in reality the knower, although we are said to be the knower because we know all and not the known. Because we are not known by anything else, we are said to be the knower only in relation to the known objects. In truth, however, what is called the known is not apart from us, and so we are the reality that transcends those two, the knower and the known. All the others fall within the knower-known categories. Devotee, how do egoity, soul, self and Brahma come to be identified? Like those who listen to a story with their attention fixed elsewhere, the mind whose residual impressions have worn away does not really function even if it appears to do so. The mind that is not free from residual impressions really functions even if it does not appear to do so. This is like those who, while remaining stationary, imagine in their dream that they climb up a hill and fall therefore. So, devotee, how do egoity, soul, self and Brahma come to be identified? Maharshi replies, the example, 1. The iron ball, 2. And the exemplified is egoity. 2. The heated iron ball. exemplified is the soul which appears as a superimposition of the self. Third, the fire that is in the heated iron bowl exemplified the light of consciousness, that is the immutable Brahma, which shines in the soul everywhere. Fourth, the flame of fire which remains as one exemplified the all-pervading Brahma which remains as one. From the examples given above, it will be clear how egoity, soul, witness, and all witness come to be identified. Just as in the wax lump, that is with the smith, numerous and varied metal particles lie included, and all of them appear to be one wax lump, so also in deep sleep the gross and subtle bodies of all the individual souls are included in the cosmic Maya, which is nescience of the nature of sheer darkness, and since the souls are resolved in the self, becoming one with it, they see everywhere darkness alone. From the darkness of sleep, the subtle body with egoity, and from that egoity, the gross body arise respectively. Even as the egoity arises, it appears superimposed on the nature of the self, like the heated iron bowl. Thus, without the soul, jiva, which is the mind or egoity that is conjoined with the consciousness light, there is no witness of the soul, with the self, and without the self there is no Brahma, that is all witness. Just as when the iron ball is beaten into various shapes by the smith, the fire that is in it does not change thereby in any manner, even so the soul may be involved in ever so many experiences and undergo pleasures and pains, and yet the self light that is in it does not change in the least thereby, and like the ether it is all pervasive pure knowledge, that is one, and it shines in the heart of Brahma. Devotee, how is one to know that in the heart self itself shines as Brahma? Maharshi, just as the elemental ether within the flame of a lamp is known to fill without any difference and without any limit both the inside and outside of the flame, so also the knowledge ether that is within the self-light in the heart fills without any difference and without any limit both the inside and outside of the self-light. That is what is referred as Brahma. Devotee, how do the three states of experience, the three bodies, etc., which are imaginations, appear in the self-light, which is one impartite and self-luminous? Even if they should appear, how is one to know that the self alone remains ever unmoving? Example, the exemplified lamp, the example lamp exemplified the self. So the door exemplified is sleep, the doorstep exemplified is Mahatattva. Example, the inner wall exemplified nescience or the causal body. Example, the mirror exemplified the egoity. Example, windows exemplified the five cognitive sense organs. Example, the inner chamber exemplified deep sleep in which the causal body is manifest. Example, the middle chamber exemplified dream in which the subtle body is manifest. Example, the outer court exemplified waking state in which the gross body is manifest. The self, which is the lamp, shines of its own accord in the inner chamber, that is the causal body. 7. That is endowed with nescience as the inner wall. 4. And sleep as the door. 2. When by the vital principle as conditioned by time, karma, etc., the sleep door is opened, there occurs a reflection of the self in the egoity mirror. What is placed next to the doorstep? Mahatattva. The egoity mirror thus illumines the middle chamber, that is the dream state, and through the windows, which are the five cognitive sense organs, the outer court, that is waking state, when again by the vital principle as conditioned by time, karma, etc., the sleep door gets shut. The egoity ceases along with waking and dream, and the self alone ever shines. The example just given explains how the self is unmoving, how there is difference between the self and egoity, and how three states of experience, the three bodies, etc., appear. Devotee, although I have listened to the explanation of the characteristics of inquiry in such great detail, my mind has not gained even a little peace. What is the reason for this? Maharishi, the reason is the absence of strength or one-pointedness of the mind. Devotee, what is the reason for the absence of mental strength? Maharishi, the means that make one qualified for inquiry are meditation, yoga, etc. One should gain proficiency in these through graded practice, and thus secure a stream of mental moods that is natural and helpful. When the mind that has in this manner become ripe listens to the present inquiry, it will at once realize its true nature, which is the self, and remain in the perfect peace without deviating from that state. To a mind which has not become ripe, immediate realization and peace are hard to gain through listening to inquiry. Yet if one practices the means for mind control for some time, peace of mind can be obtained eventually. Devotee, of the means of mind control, which is of the most important? Maharishi, breath control is the means for mind control. Devotee, how is breath to be controlled? Maharishi, breath can be controlled either by absolute retention of breath, kevala kumbhaka, or by regulation of breath, pranayama. Devotee, what is absolute retention of breath? Maharishi, it is making the vital air stay firmly in the heart even without exhalation and inhalation. This is achieved through meditation on the vital principle, etc. Devotee, what is regulation of breath? Maharishi, it is making the vital air stay firmly in the heart through exhalation, inhalation, and retention according to the instructions given in the yoga text. Devotee, how is breath control the means for mind control? Maharishi, there is no doubt that breath control is the means for mind control, because the mind, like breath, is part of air, because the nature of mobility is common to both, because the place of origin is the same for both, and because when one of them is controlled, the other gets controlled. Devotee, since breath control leads only to quiescence of the mind, manolaya, and not its destruction, that is manonasa, how can it be said that breath control is the means for inquiry which aims at the destruction of mind? Maharishi, the scriptures teach the means for gaining self-realization in two modes, as the yoga with 8 limbs, Ashtanga yoga, and as knowledge with 8 limbs, Ashtanga jnana, by regulation of breath, pranayama, or by absolute retention thereof, kevala kumbhaka, which is one of the limbs of yoga, and mind gets controlled without leaving the mind at that. If one practices the further discipline, such as withdrawal of the mind from external objects, pratyahara, then at the end self-realization, which is the fruit of inquiry, will surely be gained. Devotee, what are the limbs of yoga? Maharishi, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Of these, number 1, yama. This stands for the cultivation of such principles of good conduct as non-violence, ahimsa, truth, satya, non-stealing, asteya, celibacy, brahmacharya, and non-possession, apragraha. Second, niyama. These stands for the observance of such rules of good conduct as purity, socha, containment, santosha, austerity, tapas, study of the sacred text, swadhyaya, and devotion to God, Isvara, pranidhana. Third, asana. Of the different postures, 84 are the main ones of these. Again, with Simbha, Bhadra, Padma and Siddha are said to be excellent. Of these two is only Siddha that is the most excellent, thus the yoga text declare. Then pranayama, according to the measures prescribed in the sacred text, exhaling the vital air is Rejka, inhaling is Puraka, and retaining it in the heart is Kumbhaka. As regards measure, some texts say that Rejka and Puraka should be equal in measure and Kumbhaka twice that measure, while other texts say that if Rejka is one measure, Puraka should be of two measures, and Kumbhaka of four. By measure, what is meant is the time that would be taken for the utterance of the Gayatri mantra once. Thus, pranayama consisting of Rechaka, Puraka and Kumbhaka should be practiced daily according to ability, slowly and gradually. Then there would arise for the mind a desire to rest in the happiness without moving. After this, one should practice pratyahara. Pratyahara means this is the regulating the mind by preventing it from flowing towards the external names and forms. The mind, which had been till then distracted, now becomes controlled. The names and forms, the mind. The aids in this respect are meditation on the Parnava, fixing the attention betwixt the eyebrows. Third, looking at the tip of the nose. Fourth, reflection on the nada. The mind that has thus become one-pointed will be fit to stay in the place. After this, dharana should be practiced. Dharana, this is fixing the mind in a locus which is fit for meditation. The loci that are eminently fit for meditation are the heart and Brahmarandra, aperture in the crown of the head. One should think that in the middle of the eight-petaled lotus and is at this place there shines like a flame the deity which is the self, that is Brahma, and fix the mind therein. After this one should meditate. Dhyana, this is meditation through the I and he thought, that one is not different from the nature of the aforesaid flame. Even thus, if one makes the enquiry, who am I, then as the scripture declared, the Brahma which is everywhere shines in the heart as the self, that is the witness of the intellect. One would realize that is the divine self that shines in the heart as I. This mode of reflection is best meditation. Dhyana, this is meditation through I am he. Thought that one is not different from the nature of the aforesaid flame. Even thus, if one makes the inquiry, who am I, then as the scripture declared, the Brahma which is everywhere shines in the heart as the self, that is the witness of the intellect. One would realize that is the divine self that shines in the heart I. This mode of reflection is the best meditation. Samadhi. As a result of the fruition of the aforesaid meditation, the mind gets resolved in the object of meditation without harboring the ideas I am such and such, I am doing this and this. This subtle state in which even the thought I disappears is samadhi. If one practices this every day, seeing it to it that sleep does not supervene, God will soon confer on one of the supreme state of quiescence of mind. Devotee, what is the purpose of teaching that in Pratyahara one should meditate on the Parnava? Maharshi, the purport of prescribing meditation on the Parnava is this. Parnava is Omkara, consisting of 3.5 mantras with A, U, M, and Ardha mantra of these is stands for the waking state. Visva, Jiva and the gross body. U stands for the dream state, Tejasa Jiva and the subtle body. M stands for the sleep state, Prajan Jiva and causal body. The Ardha Matra represents the Turiya state, which is the self or I nature, and what is beyond that is the state of Turiyatita or pure bliss. The fourth state, which is the state of I nature, was referred to in the section on meditation dhyana. This has been variously prescribed as one nature of amatra, which includes the three matras AUM as namaskara, um, as monaksara, silence syllable, as japa, as muttering without muttering, and as the advaita. The aim of yama and niyama is the attainment of all good paths open to those eligible for moksha. For more details, see works like the Yoga Sutra, Hatha Yoga Dipika. Siddhasana, left. Okay, this can be read in yoga books. Mantra, which is the essence of all mantras, such as Panchakshara. In order to get at this true significance, one should meditate on the Pranava. This is meditation which is of the nature of devotion, consisting in reflection on the truth of the self. The fruition of this process is samadhi, which yields release, which is the state of unsurpassed bliss. The revered gurus also have said that release is to be gained only by devotion, which is of the nature of reflection on the truth of the self. Devotee, what is the purport of the teaching that one should meditate through the I am He thought on the truth that one is not different from the self-luminous reality that shines like a flame? Mercy, the purport of teaching that one should cultivate the idea that one is not different from the self-luminous reality is this. Scripture defines meditation in these words: in the middle of the eight-petaled heart lotus, which is of the nature of all and which is referred to as Kailasa, Vaikuntha and Paramapada, there is the reality which is of the size of thumb, which is dazzling like lightning and which shines like a flame. By meditating on it, a person gains immortality. From this we should know that by such meditation one avoids the defects of the thought of the difference of the form of I am different, that is different. Second, the meditation on that is limited. Third, the idea that the real is limited and that is confined to one place. B. The purport of teaching that one should meditate with the I am He thought is this. Soham, Sah, the Supreme Self, am the Self that is manifest as I. The Jiva, which is the Shiva Linga, reside in the heart lotus, which is its seat situated in the body, which is the city of Brahma. The mind, which is of nature of equity, goes outward identifying itself with the body, etc. Now the mind should be resolved in the heart, that is I sense, that is placed in the body, etc. should be got rid of. When thus one inquires who am I, remaining undisturbed in that state, the self nature becomes manifest in a subtle manner as I. That self nature is all and yet none, and is manifest as the Supreme Self everywhere without the distinction of inner and outer, that shines like a flame, as was stated above, signifying the truth. I am Brahma. If without meditating on that as being identical with oneself, one imagines it to be different, ignorance will not leave. Hence the identity meditation is prescribed. If one meditates for a long time without disturbance on the self ceaselessly with the I am He thought, which is the technique of the reflection of the self, the darkness of ignorance which is in the heart and all the impediments which are but the effects of ignorance will be removed and the plenary wisdom will be gained, thus realizing the reality in the heart cave which is in the city of Brahma, which the body is the same as realizing the all perfect God. In the city with 9 gates, which is the body, the wise one resides at ease. The body is the temple, the Jiva is God Shiva. If one worships him with the I am He thought, one will gain release. The body, which consists of 5 seats, is the cave. The Supreme that resides there is the Lord of the cave. Thus the scriptures declare, Since the self is the reality of all the gods, the meditation on the self, which is oneself, is the greatest of all meditations. All other meditations are included in this. It is for gaining this that the other meditations are prescribed. So if this is gained, the other are not necessary. Knowing one's self is knowing God. Without knowing one's self, that meditates, imagining that there is a deity which is different, and meditating on it is compared by the great ones to be act of measuring with one's foot one's own shadow, and to the search for a trivial conch after throwing away a priceless gem that is already in one's possession. Devotee, even though the heart and the so I will stop the video here. It will become long. So thank you, dear friends, for watching. Om Shanti Shanti.